a little bit of news. I doubt this is going to make the front page of the Jonesboro Sun. Right? I doubt this is going to make the Jonesboro Sun. So, Senator John Cooper has been claiming that he is immune from a lawsuit that was filed against him by Chad Neal, who is Chad Neal is a businessman. He owns a company called Tiger Corrections, and Senator John Cooper doesn't like it. There's a lot of context here. The real context is that Senator John Cooper, for a while, has been upset with the conservative leanings of the Craighead County Republican Committee. I mean, his efforts to try to stop it have not really worked. It's gotten more conservative. The committee has gotten more conservative. Well, I'm now a member, so, but that not just me. I mean, I'm talking it's gotten very conservative, and so that's what a lot of this stems from, and it also stems from the primary that happened back in 2014 and 2013, 2014. It also, or no, 2014, and then. Yeah, 2014. And so, anyway, I've been following this. Chad Neal claims that John Cooper has been using his office to personally target Chad Neal and his business dealings with the state of Arkansas. And there was a ruling yesterday that was not good for Senator Cooper. Because Senator Cooper's been claiming, I'm just doing this in my official capacities. I'm conducting oversight. I'm making sure everything's going on. Chad Neal's like, no, you're harassing me because you have a personal vendetta against me. There's a difference between using the investigative authorities of your office and having a personal vendetta. John Cooper filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, essentially claiming immunity because, the state's immune. And that motion was denied. The lawsuit will now move forward. And I also understand John Cooper will now have to get his own counsel. I think he has been using counsel provided by the state or the AG's office up until yesterday. I think now he's got to actually get his own lawyer. This is a release from Tiger Correction. This is a release from Chad Neal's attorneys. Joe, we'll throw this up on the screen. Chad Neal's attorneys... let's see. It says this. On November 13th, 2019, the circuit court heard defendant John Cooper's motion to dismiss plaintiffs, Tiger Commissary, and Chad Neal's complaint. The court denied the defendant's motion. Quote, plaintiffs argued and maintained that their lawsuit is to stop Cooper. Now, that's the first sentence is all you need to understand. This is the judge saying this. Plaintiffs argued and maintained that their lawsuit is to stop Cooper from acting in his individual capacity outside of his official capacity in attempting to harass, disparage their reputation, smear their standing, interfere with their business relationships and contracts, defame and publicly and purposely publish false and misleading statements about plaintiffs, and award plaintiffs damages from Cooper personally for the relief they seek in their complaint, said Smith. So, here we are. Now, this will go forward, but I wanted to cover this morning, if for no other reason. I know the Jonesboro Sun won't, and the Jonesboro Sun, and now they might have, I haven't actually looked, so I suspect that they won't put it above the fold front page like they did. I think the last time this news broke, it was about the ethics complaint that was filed against Cooper. That was dismissed. The ethics complaint was dismissed. But the lawsuit moves forward nonetheless. And I'll tell you why this lawsuit moved forward is because Chad Neal's attorneys were able to present the judge with evidence. Okay, when you have emails, when you have public statements made, it was very easy to communicate that there was something personal going on here. This was more of a personal vendetta over politics and not over actual evidence that, you needed to be harassed or investigated, using your official Senate letterhead. So it really goes to the grudge that John Cooper has. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little bit more about that grudge. Here is Senator John Cooper 2 nights ago. Let's start with Cooper number 7 there, and go ahead, Joe, and skip to the proper. I've notated there where you need to skip to. Yeah. So there was a town hall, and I'm told that this town hall was very controlled. John Cooper did not want to talk about anything that was off of topic of what he wanted to discuss. Now, that didn't always happen, but there were questions about, are you going to debate Dan Sullivan? And he said, that's off of topic. Anyway, let's pick up where I marked this here. Go ahead, listen.
Let's see, what was the other part of your question?
I know that you can't speak for them, but why would...
Oh, why? Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Stop. So this is he has basically gone over why Medicaid expansion is good and you can't hold up the entire DHS budget, which is really odd that he would bring this up in a town hall. He must think that he's vulnerable here because he went through his entire campaign telling people that he was against Medicaid expansion, and then he immediately did the opposite of what he told the voters he would do. And we have multiple audio clips. I do have an entire library of everything John Cooper said when he ran for office, all the promises that he made, and then he immediately went down there and did the complete opposite. I mean, it took no time at all. It was the fastest change, which leads me to believe there was actually no change at all, that there was just a thread of dishonesty and deception in order to get power throughout his entire campaign. I can conclude nothing else besides that because he changed so fast. Here is, pick it back up. This is John Cooper lamenting on the fact that the state representatives that represent Northeast Arkansas don't follow his lead, but instead do what they told the voters they would do. He doesn't describe it that way, though. Listen.
This goes back to deceptive messaging. You have an organization called Conduit, and they have been very dedicated to intimidating, I would say, legislators to vote no on this bill. And they promote it as if you're voting no on Arkansas Works. That's one reason that I wanted to demonstrate clearly that there's a lot more in this than Arkansas Works. But they're very intimidating. And they try to strong-arm people, legislators, that that they'll be talked bad about on talk radio.
Yeah, that's a lie.
This is the bill that they.
What a liar!
This is the legislation. This appropriation that they use.
What a liar!
To accuse people of being liberal.
Stop.
And I've been there.
Listen. All right, I got a lot of relationships with a lot of state representatives and a lot of senators. I don't strong-arm people, and neither does Conduit. Like there's some threat going around where somebody's like, hey, if you don't do what we want you to, we'll talk bad on you on the right. That's a complete, total lie. And you know what? He has made that up out of thin air in order to make himself feel better because he didn't do what he told the voters he would do. He said that Medicaid expansion is a program running on square wheels and that he was going to vote to end it. On the night he was elected, we have audio of this. On the night he was elected, was this about the private option, the election? Yes, the voters, quote, yes, the voters made it about the private option, and that decision has been made. That decision is final. Or I can't remember exactly what he said. But, I mean, he said the entire election was defined over one issue, and that was Obamacare Medicaid expansion. And then he immediately did the opposite. And he's upset that the state representatives beneath him, including Dan Sullivan, who is going to be on this program here in a little bit, kept their word to the voters. Now, I know a lot's changed here. He's actually talking about, the funding crisis for Arkansas Works back in 2015, 2016, and that's what he's talking about. And you know what? That ship has actually sailed because most people agree that Arkansas Works Medicaid expansion is now here to stay. They now pretty much agree that we can't. I'll give you an example. I mean, Josh Miller ran a bill to keep Medicaid expansion, but to cut Blue Cross and Blue Shield out of their lucrative fleecing of Arkansas taxpayers. It's the biggest scam ever in Arkansas history. Okay, that's incredible that one of the most conservative state representatives in Josh Miller runs a bill and actually was given an award, a Calvin Coolidge Award for a good bill. Can you imagine that Calvin Coolidge Award, the Conduit, that is, regarded as the most conservative organization in the state of Arkansas, gives an award to Josh Miller for a bill to keep Medicaid expansion? I just want you to understand, I mean, and because it's a practical thing to do at this point, because you've got to cut Blue Cross and Blue Shield out of the loop. But Cooper here knows he's vulnerable, because the fact of the matter is, if John Cooper had done what he said he was going to do, we actually could have ended the program at that time. You could have done it. But John Cooper didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do what he said he was going to do. And he knows this. And that's why he's now giving presentations. And listen, John Cooper stood right here in this spot. I stood right here multiple times during his campaign. The organization he now claims strong arms legislators and intimidates them and all this other nonsense supported him, supported his campaign when he ran. I put a sign in my yard. I look like a complete moron. I'm gonna be honest. I look like a complete moron. I was talking to somebody the other day. I mean, tell me what sign I should wear. I would love to wear it around. I was wrong. John Cooper wasn't honest. I supported his campaign. I told you should vote for John Cooper because he's the most conservative. Whatever sign I have to wear, make a t-shirt. I'll wear it. I'll wear it. I mean, I owe the people of Northeast Arkansas, because I've been on this station for 10 straight years. I owe you guys a massive apology. I mean, I'm not the first person that's ever been duped by a politician, but I mean, I had John Cooper on constantly. We were discussing the issues. I believed him. I put a giant sign in my yard, one of those giant signs that's meant for like an intersection, like a busy intersection. I put a giant sign in my yard, and I was telling people, go for it, We need to walk away at this point. That's exactly right. We need to just walk away. Okay, we're going to take a break here. I apologize. We're going to take a break for 1 minute, and then I want to play for you one other clip. Don't go anywhere. I appreciate it, Jackie. Jackie says, don't worry, Paul. After the many, many lies Cooper has told, why would we believe anything he said about you or Conduit? And then Gene, that's maybe the weirdest, this may be the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but Gene on Facebook, if I whisper sweet nothings in Paul Harrell's ear, will he put my campaign sign in his yard? I think I've got a higher vetting standard than I used to. Let me put it that way. It certainly helps when you actually have a voting record to go by. You can see what somebody's done, which is why, well, let me just tell you this. If John Cooper wanted to come on this program, he's more than welcome to. I'd love to interview him. I don't think he will. Obviously, he thinks I'm strong. Actually, John Cooper, I mean, he's just got this, and I've tried to strong arm John Cooper. I actually have avoided talking about John Cooper, by the way. Like, I really have. Because it does kind of get me worked up, because I seriously just have a big issue with that whole process of that whole campaign back in the day. But yeah, he thinks that apparently I have some sort of way to strong. All I am doing here is I report for Conduit News. All I'm doing is telling you what is going on, what is happening. We present voting records of people. We cover what's happening in the news. And we're just trying to get the truth to the people with the hope that, hey, you've got more information. Now you can go and vote accordingly when we're talking about elections specifically here. But the Republican Party platform is very important. And I told you this the other day, that John Cooper, back on May the 28th, spoke out against a resolution of the Craighead County Republican Committee affirming the party's platform. And he compared his own party to the Soviet Empire. Let's go ahead and let's listen to the beginning of this, shall we, Joe? Let's listen to a little bit of this speech from May 28th from Senator John Cooper, in his own words.
By the rules of the Republican Party, or the laws of Arkansas, or the Constitution of the United States. There are very well thought out reasons why these rules are in place. The very basic reason is that it violates the very basic principles upon which this country was founded. Our committee rules state that no oaths shall be permitted. The RPA requires the same. Why are these rules in place? The simple reason is that party oaths, which seek to supplant the language of both the Arkansas Constitution and the Constitution of the United States of America, are subversive in their very nature. Our first president cautioned against the dangers of political parties. He was the only one of our presidents that wasn't a member of one. His fear was that they would insert themselves into a higher allegiance to the political party than to the good of the country. Our Constitution of the United States begins with these words, "We the people." The government of this country and the government of each state is directly overseen by the people themselves. Through the established electoral process, the system of a representative republic is established. Our Constitution begins with these words, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." It does not say, "We the people of the Craighead County Republican Committee," or even the Republican Party of Arkansas, nor does it say the Democratic Party of Arkansas, or any other political.
All right, at this point, stop. At this point, back on May 28th, at this Craighead County Republican Committee meeting, boy, the crowd was restless. Because as I've told you previously, the Craighead County Republican Committee has gotten increasingly conservative, and they're not too happy with John Cooper either. Matter of fact, I don't even know if he's going to keep coming to the meetings or not. Who knows? So just skipping ahead here, because we want to get to this section before we run out of time, where he said, quote, they thought it so important that they began it with the fundamental structure that it is government by the people, of the people. It's not a government by a political party for a political party, and for sure not just a piece of political party that thinks itself so political holy, it deems itself so pious that it allowed itself self-appointed right to oversee all the legislative process. I don't even know why John Cooper is a member of any political party. It sounds like he thinks that they themselves are wrong. And again, this was just a platform affirming the power of faith in God. It's non-binding. It's not, there's no legal, it doesn't have any legal, it's just saying we want to encourage our legislators who serve Craighead County to support the platform of power and faith in God, reducing regulations, lower taxes to produce economic growth, not discipline, but what's the word I'm talking about? I am totally blanking on just being self-reliant, yeah, or something like that. Anyway, keep going. Go ahead, skipping ahead.
They intended for this to be a non-settled competition for as long as the country exists. As a mediator of these competing interests, they also set up a system of judicial mediation called the Supreme Court, so that none could run roughshod over others without restraint. This resolution is certainly an effort by some to exercise unconstitutional power over others.
Unconstitutional power.
No political entity or self-appointed wise men or women can say.
Point of order, please. Isn't it 3 minutes, didn't you say?
Yeah, he went over time, and they were upset about it.
Well, it's 4 minutes already.
We know best to rebalance the scales to suit themselves. In the rough political seas of our country that our country has endured. So far, the people, through their elections, have righted the ship. In our free country, we are different from third world countries in which political entities regularly intervene between the people and those who make the laws and thereby dictate what the people have to live by. That was indeed the system devised for governing the old Soviet Empire. The Politburo was the political entity that instructed the lawmakers to do what they wanted. That is exactly the same system that this resolution seeks to institute.
Stop.
Our founding fathers
So there you go.
recognized-
There you go. That's Senator John Cooper back on May 28th. I know the audio gets a little garbled there, but he's saying that was the system devised by the governing of the old Soviet Empire. That is exactly the same system that this resolution seeks to institute. He claimed falsely, he'll say anything, he claimed falsely that a resolution, non-binding, just encouraging, just a declaration that, hey, the committee would like for you guys to affirm, to actually vote based on what the platform is. He claimed it was unconstitutional and it was supporting the Soviet Empire's idea of government.